Hello everyone, Cold Open here to tell you a little bit about Intelligent Speech. Intelligent Speech is an online conference happening this year on November 4th between 10 a.m. and 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and the theme this year is Contingencies, when history meets the backup plan. It's going to have a large number of great speakers. It'll have 3 keynotes, 8 roundtables, and 32 individual sessions in 4 separate virtual rooms, and we are going to be one of the speakers, together with many other brilliant podcasts you've certainly heard of, such as Daniele Bolelli, Trevor from History of Persia, and several other sibling Rexipods. The tickets are normally $30, but if you act now, you'll be able to get a $20 early bird special. But not only that, as listeners of the show, you'll be able to have an extra 10% discount on this price if you use the code RULE at checkout. R-U-L-E, RULE. We'll be participating in 2 panels and have our very own slot where we'll be talking to you about Alexander's side gig, dragon slaying, the waters of life, and talking to trees. So it's everything you've ever wanted to know about Alexander the Destroyer in the Shahnameh and in Iranian tradition. What does he get up to? Well, it's a lot of weird stuff. But anyway, on with the show.
Hello, and welcome to So You Think You Can Rule Persia, the podcast where we rate and review all the kings of Persia from Diocles to Yazdegerd III. I'm Serial, and my pronouns are they, them.
And I'm Umberto, and my pronouns are he, him. So hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 47.
Hooray!
Our podcast, which is Orodes III.
The supposed middle of the podcast, but, subject to change.
It might be the middle of the podcast, it might not. It depends if I find or destroy any more kings in the future. For now, it's the middle.
I will just pretend like that's fine. So anyway, Orodes the First.
Orodes the
second.
Third.
The third. Who was the second?
Third, yes. Orodes the Second was the guy who defeated Crassus at Carrhae.
Yeah, okay.
We liked him, we gave him a Shahanshah.
Yes.
Orodes the First was one of the pointless ones during the Parthian Dark Age that was defeated by some Turkeys.
Okay, then that was why I was like...
He of the good hat.
Have we had 2? Okay, yeah. Random, distantly related person who got put on the throne by some nobles, right?
Yes, there are a few theories as to who he actually is, and we'll go into them, but yeah, he's not the obvious choice, essentially. Yeah, so let's quickly recap what happened in Musa's episode, which was our last episode.
Yeah.
So in our last episode, what happened is that Musa, the slave, got sent over to Parthia, where she convinced her husband, Phraates IV, to send all of his children off to Rome, except Phraataces, the little boy.
Yeah. Trust me, this is for their own good. This is not a ploy at all.
Yes. Then Phraates was murdered by Musa. Musa made herself queen. There was a bit of a deal with Rome over Armenia, where it's in a bit of a fuzzy situation, but leaning more Rome-wise. But overall, we managed to at least guarantee peace with our western neighbors. And then, unfortunately for us, our dear Musa was deposed by the nobility and replaced with Orodes III. So let's see how he does. Serial, predictions. Do you think he's going to do well now, or do you think it's going to be a tragic story?
I don't know. I mean, I don't like how he came to the throne, right? Like, he was just pulled by some nobles, which probably, like, if he was chosen by the nobles, he's probably, like, easy enough to manipulate, or he, like, got along with them in some way, or,
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm sure they could find, since he's distant relative, I'm sure there's more people that would also fit that category, so why him and not somebody else? Probably because he was, convenient. But I don't know, because I know nothing about him. I don't know his personality or, like, what kind of person he was. So he could do really badly because he doesn't have any idea how anything works. Or he could do really well, surprisingly. Or he could just be a puppet king. I don't know.
Well, we'll find out today, won't we?
I'm sorry. I know that you asked me, like, hey, do a like predict, but I'm like, I could see this going either way, so.
We'll see if it's not the middle or somewhere else. But anyway, so for his origins, we have two options. First option is, as we mentioned before, just a random distant member of the Arsacid dynasty. He was the nearest guy that the nobility could pick, and he got the job. Option 2 is that he was actually a younger half-brother of Phraataces. Because if you remember, when Musa sent all of her stepchildren off to Rome, she sent only the adults.
Yeah, right.
And Phraataces managed to stay back because he was younger. So another possibility is that Orodes was also young. He was still a child when Phraataces succeeded his father, which means that he wasn't really dealt with, he wasn't executed or anything because he was inoffensive, and that was fine.
I mean, come on, like, we haven't heard of him before at all. And
Not really.
Musa would probably have, like, taken care of him.
Yeah,
Come
it
on.
sounds unlikely that he would have survived this long, especially since Musa's situation was precarious enough that she'd needed to take care of all angles.
Yeah.
So I'm also on the side of the fact that he was just a distant member of the family. Also because if he were the younger brother, he would be somewhere in his teens when he took the throne, which might be good for a regency, I guess, or, a council. But, it's still not great for legitimacy if you're going to replace Musa and Phraataces with him. It makes sense if you get an older, more experienced man. But, again, we don't know very much.
Maybe they just, want, again, a puppet king. So.
Yeah, definitely. In any case, no matter what his origins, he first comes to the stage when the Parthian nobility had enough of Phraataces and Musa due to their origins and the handling of the Armenian question, where they sort of backed down before Rome, and so they were expelled or murdered. At this point, a council was convened, because Strabo tells us that this was a council that was convened in times of trouble. And it was a council made up of the wider Arsacid family and the religious figures in the empire. And also, interestingly enough, it looks like the Arsacids also had 6 other noble families, the Suren family among them as well, which helped to govern and direct the state, sort of an imitation of the Achaemenids with, Darius' co-conspirators and the good old days there. So this council was probably convened for every succession, since we mentioned this is an elective monarchy officially. So presumably in certain situations, the council is convened and they just rubber stamp whatever the official succession was, and things go on as if nothing had happened. While other times, and in this case, it looks like the council actually discussed potential heirs, and they had to argue what happened. So during this discussion, it looks like several heirs were put forward. Some people were in favor of calling some of the former heirs that were off in Rome and saying, hey, come back, you'll be our kings. Others were wondering if maybe they should look down a female line, so essentially looking through the grandsons of Phraates IV through his daughters, not through his sons. See if that could happen, that could be useful. But in the end, throughout all of these deliberations, the council chose Orodes as their favorite and said, yes, he should be our king, he will succeed Musa. And yeah, so at last Orodes is king. Hooray, hurrah. He is put in charge of the vast Parthian Empire, where there are different situations in the east and west, because on the west we have the Roman borders are at least secure. That's nice. There are some vassal kingdoms, Elamites, Karakina, and Persia, which are firmly enough controlled. So they haven't rebelled in about a generation, which is great. Everybody's quite happy about that. There are a few buffer states, Osroene and Adiabene, which are a buffer to Rome, which are a little bit more unstable. They're sort of like Armenia, but smaller and more under Parthian control, which is nice, but always a bit risky, something you need to keep in mind. And also another interesting part of the Western Empire is that they inherited from the Seleucids that there are many Greek cities that are semi-independent and sort of self-rule themselves. But as time has gone on towards the Parthian monarchy, they've become more and more oligarchical as opposed to democratic. because it's easy enough to bribe a few important families for the king as opposed to just bribing the entire population to vote the correct way. So that's what we have in the West. That's been our familiar stomping ground for a few episodes. But in the East, there have been changes going on. Now, you probably remember, because we recorded a Patreon episode on this, that the Saka and Yuezhi people from a while ago had migrated into the east of the Parthian Empire and been settled there by Mithridates the Great of Parthia.
True.
Those
The
people.
nomads.
Yeah, that.
The steppe people.
Well, it looks like certain ambitious chieftains from these groups migrated from Sakistan in eastern Iran down into India, occupying roughly the territory that Alexander had, so most of modern Pakistan, thereabouts.
Okay.
And it looks like this last migration is what destroyed the last independent Greek state in the world, because there were still some Indo-Greeks that were Buddhist and everything just living there. But now they've been destroyed by the Saka, who just invaded and took over now. And yeah, it seems that despite coming from Parthian territory, these Indo-Saka rulers weren't official subject of the King of Kings, but just semi-independent, sort of like Armenia in a way. But the interesting thing about these Indo-Saka people is that they had their own King of Kings in the area, their own person who called himself King of Kings, who ruled over lesser rulers in India. So sort of a confederation style thing, which is quite interesting enough. Also, apparently, the head ruler of all these is going to become one of the first Christian rulers in the world, according to certain traditions, which is apparently St. Thomas passes this way. That's another Patreon option if you're interested. But anyway, during the reign of Orodes, it looks like this Indo-Saka empire had recently collapsed due to an influx of Yuezhi invaders who are trying to make their own separate kingdom. And it's interesting that there is some movement in Parthian Sakistan directly, because a man called Gondopharnes, who was probably a cousin, a member of the Suren clan, who had been important and influential and supported a lot of our previous kings, especially this dynasty comes from one that was strongly supported by the Suren. Well, it looks like this Gondopharnes had begun consolidating power at home and was making aggressive movements towards the remaining Indo-Saka kingdoms on the way to becoming his own independent ruler. So it looks like he was building up influence in Parthia and outside of it to build a kingdom that is sort of on either side of them, which would be something interesting to deal with. So this is what Orodes has to deal with now because, well, if he wants to ensure that the eastern borders are secure, he has to find a way to deal with all these threats that are potentially there. Now, the problem is that Orodes wasn't really well liked by the nobility for some reason.
Excuse me. Like, didn't they choose him?
They did, but apparently when he became king, he started becoming violent and cruel. Started just really lording his power over everyone and making everybody feel crap.
I feel like either they just didn't know him at all as a person, because this doesn't come out of nowhere. Like, yes, power corrupts, but like, someone doesn't go from being like a good guy to suddenly a like violent and sadist kind of power hoarding ruler.
Yeah.
You know?
Maybe he was hiding it well enough beforehand. He just had a nice public persona, and then they voted for him, and he was like, okay, fine, great. Now that I'm king, I'll just be as sadistic as I want.
Press X to doubt. You know.
Fair enough. And then we have two different options for what happens next. Because on the one hand, he was quite fond of going hunting. So this may have happened on a hunt. Alternatively, it may have happened at a festival where everybody was drunk and, full of alcohol and having a great time. But whatever the context, it looks like Orodes never really emerged from his hunt/festival because he had been murdered by the nobles who just decided, okay, no, this time we're making a better choice.
This that time, went well.
Better choice.
Is this it?
Yeah.
Okay, we have like 15 minutes of recording, and that is counting the, us getting started and stuff that is not even going to make it into the episode. So, like, what is the plan here?
This is just a short episode. Can you guess, Serial, who they go for next, since we have some extra time? Who do you think the nobles will
Do they go
next?
to fetch the brothers from Rome?
Yes, they do.
Oh my god, finally!
They sent a nice letter to Rome saying, hey, listen, we messed up. We killed our king before his warranty ran out, so can we get a new one, please? Okay, great, thanks.
What is even happen? Like, I'm so sorry, listeners. I really don't know, like, what the point of this is anymore. Like, can we at least start with the brothers? Like, is every brother gonna get an episode? I assume not. Like, someone's gonna fight for this, right? So, like, can we get, like, an overview of, like, who is there?
Well, we can give you an overview of the fact that this election isn't unanimous because there are two main parties now that are developing in the nobility. There is a Western-friendly party, which likes the Romans and is friendly to these Roman kings, basically.
Bleh.
And there's an Eastern party, because these people don't like the Romans, and they want somebody that's fully Parthian to control them, and they are backed by the powerful Surain clan, which we've heard of many, many times. And these people are championing some heirs from a female line of the heirs of Phraates IV, because this female line married into Saka nobility off in the east, and so they are likely to succeed. So we have a few options, and they're going to be arguing over who gets the throne. However, in Rome, not everybody's going to get a chance. Some of them are just going to die of old age there. Others are going to try their best and fail. Others are going to try their best and succeed. We'll have to see what happens in the next episodes. But for now, Augustus has received a letter saying, hey, can we have a new king of Parthia, please? And apparently the letter says, we don't care which, just send us one. We don't care which brother, whichever will do.
Yeah, of course, because why would they care?
Yeah, I mean, they don't know them. They've been away for about 20 years at this point. So many of them are more Roman than they are Parthian, which is going to be a problem in the future. So yeah, next time we'll see about our king Vonones the First.
Vonones?
Vonones with a V.
Okay. I just thought it was a funny name, I'm sorry.
Yes, Vonones is good. So we'll have to see how he does in the next episode. But for now, Serial, are you ready for a heart-pounding rating? Can we have our lowest rated king? Serial, let's see.
In everything. Like,
we've had some stinkers. Let's see if he is the lowest of the low.
I don't even, like, can we release this episode? Like,
yeah, it'll be fine.
I guess if you want more, join our Patreon. There's 2 extra episodes in there waiting for you.
Yeah, there's 3 extra episodes by the time this releases. So
right.
Chop chop.
So,
you want to hear about what's happening in China? Go for it.
Yeah, that was a great episode and that was super interesting. But like, this is not how I wanted to promote our Patreon. Be like, hey, our episodes suck. Well, you can get better ones.
We said we were going to do every king. This is part of the deal. You all agreed to come on this journey with us.
All right, well,
so,
more next time.
Come on, Sarah. Yes. Okay, so our first category is final moments. How interesting was his death? Murdered at maybe a hunt or maybe a festival. Possibly one of the two. I'm inclined for a 1 because it's a violent death, but we have very little detail, so I'm not going any higher than that.
Yeah, I think a 1 because something happened. Like, he got murdered. So it's more interesting than...
He didn't just have a heart attack
10
minutes after being elected. Just did that. So, nice. With a 1 and a 1, that gives us a 1 out of 10 for final moments. Our next category is battle hardness. How good was he at wars and fighting? He did nothing. He did no wars or fighting.
0.
He maybe went on a hunt once. The end. So, with a 0 to 0, he gets a 0 out of 20 for battle hardness. Next category is scheminess. How good was he at plots and manipulations? he got elected. Is that anything?
No.
Yeah, no. He maybe convinced people to overthrow Musa. Do we want to?
No.
Is that a thing? No. Okay. Yeah, fair enough.
-10. Next.
So 0 and 0, 0 out of 20 for scheminess. Our next category is shock factor. How shocking was this man? Well, apparently he was cruel and sadistic enough that he had to be murdered. So I'm going for a 1 here. That's worth
fair.
something.
Same.
Not
no
much,
more
but
though.
Hey. I don't know. Doesn't deserve much, but 1. So with a 1 and a 1, he gets a 2 out of 20 for shock factor. Our next category is Aaron Shine. How good was he for the Empire overall and Iran in particular? Like he got
0. I don't like.
He made the succession
nothing
kind of
happened.
messy. He didn't really do anything. You can't give him any credit or.
I mean, I guess
merits.
he didn't make things worse, but like.
He didn't have much time to make things worse.
Yeah.
I mean, apparently, if he did anything, it was just be a cruel to everyone. And yeah, nah. So 0 again. 0 and 0, 0
I mean,
out
I
of 20
feel like
for
you
Aaron
would give him
Shine.
a 0. That means that like things went worse.
But we also gave 0 to people who did nothing. Like
Okay.
we gave a 0 to Xerxes II, Sogdianus, Baby Alex,
Fine.
Antiochus the Child. 0 is either you were destructive or you were just not influencing anything at all.
Yeah.
So yeah, 0.
We should have negatives for this.
Well, if you count the length of reign, you can figure out if somebody was just irrelevant or terrible. But anyway, our next category is Face of Faces. What do you think this man looked like?
Give me a minute, I guess.
Yes.
I don't. What am I supposed to do with this? Like.
Okay, so Serial has finished their drawing on this most inspired of historical figures.
Yeah, I have so many thoughts. Whoa. I just couldn't fit them all in one drawing.
Ooh, I love it. Strong. Okay,
Yeah, I mean-
so we have our typical Parthian king, long beard, fluffy hair, a tiara, a nice robe. He is raising his hand, ready to say or do something, but then we notice the arrows in his back and the crossed out eyes and the ... in his speech bubble where he tried to do something but failed entirely.
Yep.
And next to it we have a speech bubble saying, oops, yeah, no, our bad, next. Where the nobles are ready to try again with Vonones and see if he lasts more than a cabbage.
Vonones. More than a cabbage. Okay.
So thank you, Serial,
Good reference.
Yeah. And so if any of you listeners want to look at this, go in the notes of the episode, in the description of the episode, or you can go to Serial's portrait gallery on our website.
Or on our Discord, if you're there.
Or on our Discord, if you are there, you can join it through Patreon. Okay, so Serial, now I'm going to show you what Orodes actually looked like. Here he is. Look at him in all his majesty.
Actually, I love these coins. I love the slight level of stylization that these have. Also, the diadem is much thicker. Like it's
it looks like a sports headband. It's
it does actually. Pointy man, like pointy nose and pointy beard, and like cool hair that I feel like it's been pressed down.
I feel like it's just been eroded through a lot of handling.
Orodes has been eroded.
Oh, yes. Hey.
Sorry. But yeah, it feels like it's been, sanded down. But I like it. I'm honestly gonna give it a 5.
A 5?
It's a fun coin.
I'm not too impressed, honestly.
I like this one.
Yeah, fair enough. I'm actually going for a 3 because the coin isn't great quality.
How do we know it's him? Because there's no name.
There's nothing much. There are presumably coins in which the writing is better preserved, where it says Orodes, or maybe, because usually the writing's on the back of it, so maybe it's where the archer is.
Okay.
That, and it's not shown here.
Okay.
So presumably somebody looked into it. But yeah, this is. Yeah, I think I'm just going for a 3. I'm not that impressed. It's pretty generic,
I mean,
not very well preserved.
I like this particular coin.
Feel free to give it a 5.
Yeah.
So, yeah. With a 3 and a 5, this gives him a 2 out of 5 for Face of Faces. Our next category is lengthiness. How long do you think he reigned?
A month. I don't know.
Nope, longer actually. He reigned for a full 2 years.
What? Doing what?
We have no clue, Ariel. No idea.
So time actually passed. He just didn't do anything.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is worse.
Or, nothing worth remembering.
Ugh.
So he ruled from 4 to 6 AD this time. Hooray, the first time our dates aren't ticking downwards.
Hey.
So divide by 10, that gives us a 0.2 out of 5 for lengthiness. Which brings us to the final score, which is a grand total of 5.2 out of 100.
Yeah.
Orodes III. Which
right.
doesn't make him last. He is 4th from last. He is between Baby Alex and Philip III.
I mean, he has a pretty
So,
coin.
fair enough. Yeah, I think.
And we gave him like a couple of
images would
token
save
points.
him.
Could have been worse.
Yeah, I saw that even without his face, he was better than Xerxes II.
Yeah. There wasn't
But,
much on Xerxes II.
Yeah,
Except a name. So.
Also, because Xerxes II ruled for like 40 days.
Yeah.
And Rhodey's got
exactly.
like those 2 years.
He ruled for
in.
2 years. So,
Yeah, so there we are. Not the worst, but still not great. Which leads us to the final forlorn conclusion, which is to ask, is he bad enough? Is he disappointing enough? Is he no really enough to be a Shahanshah, or is he just a Shahanah?
Like, I've already forgotten him. I don't I don't care.
That's the correct reaction. There's not.
We go from Musa to the brothers that she sent to Rome. Who cares about this guy? Like,
yes, this guy is in a history book. This guy is. Oh, P.S. There was another guy in the middle, which is annoying because usually the bits skip Musa as well. In this, they say, "Oh, there were a series of short-lived rulers."
Like
the end. Yeah.
The audacity.
Yeah. So we can send Orodes out into the desert where he'll meet Phraates IV,
Justice for
who
Musa.
defeated Antony and did a lot much cooler stuff and is probably wondering, wait, why am I in the same category as this guy? No, please, wait, I was interesting. No, don't go. But yeah, so that's the end of our episode today. Join us next time with Vonones I. I promise I have more notes on him.
Good.
Please, don't leave. Don't stop listening to the podcast. We're sorry.
It'll get better.
Yes.
But hey, thanks for making it through this entire long episode that we put out for you.
Also, if you would like to support our podcast, we have a few ways to do that. First of all, it's our Patreon, for which we'd like to thank our new patron, Jonavan San Agustin.
Thank you.
So thank you very much for your support. If you join there, you'll be able to listen to a bunch of extra episodes. We have Mithridates the Great, Tigranes the Great, Han Wudi of China. We've voted for a new series on a bunch of ancient Greeks that have to do with the Achaemenids.
We have the Greeks coming up.
Thucydides, Alcibiades, Xenophon. Join up.
Amazing.
If instead you'd prefer not to support us monetarily, that's fine. But we also appreciate any written reviews on your podcast app of choice because they help spread the word and let other people know.
Yeah, and they make us happy, if you have nice things to say.
Yes, it makes us blush.
Tell your friends.
Yes. Also, we have a new social medium, so join us on Blue Sky if you're escaping the sinking ship that is whatever the other website is called.
True.
But yeah, this has been a short enough episode. Let's shorten it further by saying we hope you have a wonderful week, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Bye.